meeting to go.
Okay, let's do it. It's Monday, August 8th, 2022. Let us call to order this Larkspur Library Board of Directors meeting. All those present, please state your name.
Amel Fatterman.
Hello.
Andy Raval.
Okay,
Jeff Gunderson.
great. I'm Jonathan Shambroom.
And Amir is absent, and I'm Franklin Community Services Director. So.
All right, good. All right, roll call complete. The second item is the approval of the consent calendar. Franklin, would you care to take us through that?
It's just the approval of the minutes, really. So
Okay,
if
yep, so-
someone wants to second, or if there is any comments or any things to be adjusted to it.
I'll
Yep,
make a
minutes.
motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion passes. Minutes from June 13th are approved.
Hi.
Hi, Amir. Amir has joined us. We have not just quorum, perfect attendance tonight.
So
Amir joining us in progress. We are now up to item number 3, public comment. Are there members of the public who wish
there
to?
are members of the public that in attendance. If you'd like to speak, if you raise your hand, but both Barbara and Joe have a spot in the agenda to talk for their if they want to talk about their group. So, but so far there are no raised hands. So,
Okay, last chance for hand raisers. Okay, thank you. On to board member reports and comments. For the board, would anybody care to comment on any topic?
Nothing to report for me.
I'll just comment that my kids have been to the library a bunch the last couple of weeks, just trying to ramp up our last push for summer reading. And I actually accompanied them a couple of weeks ago and hadn't been in a while, and everything looked great. And had a nice conversation at the front desk. And so, yeah, just wanted to report that I was in there and everything looked awesome. Really running smoothly. So it looked great, Franklin. Hadn't been in a little while, so.
That's awesome. Good to hear.
I've not been in, but my wife has. So, and she said she was thrilled to get the things that she needed. So she was very happy. So well done, Franklin and staff.
Yeah, I'll plus one that I was there this past weekend as well, and the rewards for the summer reading program, and I think was also really cool this year. And the kids love them, so nicely done.
thanks.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Topic 5. Franklin, I turn to you for the library director's oral report.
Okay, since we last met in June, I am now the YALSA president. That's the Young Adult Library Service Association's president. I'm also the chair of the MarinNet Board of Directors at the moment. So I have that for a year. So I have lots and lots of work going on. We have reopened 5 days a week. So we're open 9 to 6, Monday through, no, not Monday, it's Tuesday through Saturday. I'm waiting to get the press release back from the admin services so we can make sure that it goes out, and then we'll be talking about the locker as well as our new hours. So we are trying to put up a sign on Fridays and Saturdays that remind people that parking will be enforced for 30 minutes. A lot of times at 5 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, people park in the parking lot and then no one can come in. So, and you know, parking is the issue with the library. So a lot of people can't come inside. So, and we do also have residents who like to park in the back parking lot. So we're trying to give people some warning before enforcement begins again. So, but it'll be a little while before the enforcement starts. But what else is going on? We've got lots of the suggestion box should be here tomorrow, Armel. So that will be out on the little table that's outside the offices. We're still getting stuff rearranged. The self-checkout's working. We're almost got the email working for it. It's we're waiting for the company to get back to our IT guy because he finally was able to get all the stuff together. So eventually the email, when you get your email receipt will be showing up. So I think that's the bulk of it right now. There's lots of, yeah, we did move the biography collection. So if you have been inside, the adult biographies are now on the 2nd floor. This allows us to grow the teen collection as well as the children's nonfiction. So, and the children's room itself. So there'll be a little more space for children's and teens. We've moved those things around, but pretty much everything else is going slow. The newspapers are starting to, we all have them back again, the Chronicle, the New York Times, and one more. I can't remember what the other one is, but this is thanks to the Friends of the Library support. So we were able to purchase these newspapers again for the year. So, and then yeah, it's just lots of housekeeping and trying to get ready. Don't forget, adult summer reading is still going on, so you still have a few weeks to finish your bingo cards. And I think we had a good attendance for the thing. I got to get the numbers from Teresa tomorrow when she comes in, but otherwise we're doing really well. And then there's a question. Oh, the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, we're getting the Wall Street Journal, should be coming soon. So, and that's thanks to the Friends. So we were able to get those newspapers again. So people are really happy. And then everything pretty much is done with the RFID project, except for a couple of the hang-up bags. So everything can be checked out, magazines, books, videos, everything can be done through the self-checkout machine. So the county is the only one now lagging behind because they have a huge collection. So hopefully they'll be done by the end of summer or at the end of fall. And then the entire MarineNet collection will have been tagged with RFID. So it'll make it easier to check out. So
Great.
that's it for right now. So.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And then Franklin, will stay with you for the next item, number 6, old business items.
Well, did anybody have questions first or just?
Yeah, I was wondering, hey, Franklin, was there like generally on, there's been a lot of emphasis around the self-checkout. Is there like a particular issue or like a bottleneck we're trying to solve on that? Because I know we, like the last couple of times we've tried to go that route and then we like redirected, go back to front desk to check out. And I know it's like new, trying to get things kind of sorted out.
Yeah, what it is like sometimes people have material from the county and the county items won't check out on the self-checkout yet because they don't have the tags in them. And as much as you'll see people scanning the barcodes of material, I'm not really sure if it's reading the barcodes at all anymore, other than the first library card. So your library card, it scans that barcode, but I don't think it's scanning the material barcode. And I think people will stand there because it's funny, we're trying to explain to people, they just have to set it down as a pile and it checks it all out at once. But it's getting people used to that. But I know right now the county material and Link Plus stuff, because Link Plus stuff is not in our collection at all. And so I still need to bring that up with the MarineNet board, because we never did resolve that issue with the Link Plus, because those are a lot of books that flow in and we have a lot of users who use Link Plus as well. So hopefully those will get resolved, but it's, yeah, right now it's the county books that are the biggest problem. The email thing was just trying to get a hold of Biblioteca, which is the company, and trying to get our IT people to find if we had all the resources to put the email together. So, but it's almost up and running. So.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Franklin, I had a question from last meeting. You mentioned we were waiting to hear from the state around the grant award on which libraries might receive grants. Has there been any news on that?
So right 2 weeks before the end of July, they sent another query out, but they wanted like details of what we were spending stuff on. So me and Julian had to run around and like, put this all together to send it in because we had a Friday deadline, but we did get it in. So now we're again still just waiting. We don't know if they sent it to individual libraries or if they sent it to everybody in mass, but it was just one of these things. It's sort of the frustration we had with the Levine money as well, because we kept having to resubmit the application every time because they would say they wanted this detail or they didn't need this detail, and we take it out and put it back in. And so that we finally got the first half of that money. So the 500,000 is here, but we won't get the rest of it until the city finishes whatever I think the project that we said we were going to use it for, before we'll get the other half of that. And I think it's just a work in progress. Julian is really waiting to hear back, as everybody waiting to hear back from the state. Barbara did have a question about the chairs, the reading chairs. I don't know what to do right now at the moment, just because the leather chairs did not survive storage. The storage unit is not completely sealed, and so the weather really did damage to them. So the benches were lucky because they were further deep down underneath other stuff and covered pretty well, but the chairs didn't. So at this point, it's just trying to find funding to get new chairs. But we also don't want to put too many chairs in because we're also trying to limit the amount of people in the building just because COVID is still going around crazy. And now monkeypox has frightened a few of the staff members, so they're trying to clean more diligently because we keep hearing different things about monkeypox. So. Okay, there's another question. Oh, okay, Barbara, that's good to know. So
you mentioned limiting the number of people inside the library. I suppose that now that it is still vacation, it would not be a problem. But once school starts, how many people and how are you going to keep the number?
Well, we keep the number of chairs limited, but I know the teens and the kids will sit on the floor because they were doing that right at the end of the school year. They were sitting on the floor. So I don't, it's going to be a hard thing to do. And right now, because there are no any restrictions on the number of people that can come in for the county or the state, we'll have to just let people in. And then once we get too many people, but we're hoping that the lack of seating would be the discouraging factor of people trying to plant themselves all day.
Okay, so it's going to be.
Any other follow-ups? Okay. Then staying with you, Franklin, within old business items, could you please give the update on library activities and programs?
Yeah, so summer reading for the children went really well. We had a lot of attendance at our programs at the park. A lot of people were very excited to see us out there. The story time in the park is still continuing. Originally, we were going to end it at the end of July because Teresa was worried people would go on vacation in August. So we are continuing to do story time every Friday at 10:30 at Dolliver Park. And so we're waiting until they get the new playground equipment installed because that might deter people from coming by because they're going to install some new playground equipment out there, a little toddler playground, which will be really cute. But right now, that's still ongoing. Again, the adult summer reading is still going on, and we're the master gardeners are starting to come back. They've asked, so we've had a couple programs. We just had that one with Ron Rosano about the new Webb telescope, which was really good. And we've had a lot of views already on the YouTube channel. But we're still, Teresa's working on getting more stuff for, they're getting more, like the art docents, we're reaching out to them as well. So we're still going to continue to do most of the adult programming online. We still have a limited capacity for the chambers upstairs. So we're trying to be cautious about how many people come in. And it's also to the comfort level of the staff. So so we're still waiting for that to come about. So did you answer your question?
Excellent. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I do have something. I think that the fact that we can use the parks for some of the program, or mostly the reading, is good. Are there any other programs that are on hold or that are limited because there's no access or limited access to the facility that could also be moved to outdoors, to one of the parks? Or and the new furniture you mentioned, is that furniture that is conducive to sitting and reading, or is it just benches and?
No, the reading chairs are the little armchairs, and Barbara just said in the little Q&A that their friends would be more than happy to help support getting new chairs. So we'll get a few of those. But we are getting new computer chairs that can be cleaned. So right now, if you guys have been in here, you know that that's soft seating chairs, but we have ordered some plastic ones that are much easier to clean. And the company is really good. I've used them before, and if they ever break, they will replace them because they guarantee them for life. So they're nice little computer chairs that will be coming soon. But yeah, so once the seating comes in, but it's just finding funding for what we need to get, and then and especially too because we want to make sure everything comes with us when we move. So.
And you don't think that any of the other talks or programs could be also moved outdoors?
No, not that, I mean, the bulk of the stuff that we've been able to do has been online. So I'm not sure what other stuff that Teresa has planned or we want to do. Most of it is just children's programming because it's a lot more, noisy. But I'm not sure how many, art docents would want to be out because they need the screen. They need a projector and stuff. So, because even movies, I would love to show movies, but you can't do that in the park without a lot of
But, yeah.
equipment, a lot of people, and just with the recreation side of that, we've hired a company to do one movie in this September, but we're going to see how that one goes. So
It's great to see that Ron Rossano was involved with things because he's a great community resource for, astronomy things. And he could set up his telescopes at night in the park somewhere and do things.
We had at one point, we were going to.
That's what gave me the thought is when you mentioned Ron, and Ron is extremely creative. So if you tell him, the park are open, I trust him that he will have frisbee tournament going on.
Originally in RML before our COVID got bad again, we were partnering with the College of Marin to do a web telescope event. We were going to do on an evening out in the park with telescopes. It was originally planned for March. So we're hoping we can eventually partner with them again, and because the professor who was going to do it didn't want to do it when and plus right now it doesn't get dark enough until really late at night. So we're waiting for the hours to change back again, if they change back, because I think they're going to change the law or something. But we'd rather have it so it's dark outside, because we were talking about using the community room at the rec office and then going out on the grass there to do stargazing, because we had talked with Ron to do that as well. So there are some programs that we could do outside, but we just really haven't been looking right now, just because our librarian is getting settled in. But I'm hoping that they'll start some more team programming pretty soon. I keep encouraging them to start a team advisory board. We do have a lot of good team volunteers that have been coming in. It's just trying to get them to come in consistently and stay. But I'm hoping that we might get a whole different batch in the school year. So.
Great.
Franklin, speaking of staff, how has Jess been doing? New hire and any other staffing?
Yeah, the staff, they're doing well. And then we're in the process of hiring another library aide. So, and that's ongoing. I'm just waiting to hear back from the HR director. So
you mentioned the teen advisory board. Any chance of us meeting them?
Well, it's something we just got to make them get together first. So we got to bring them together. I was trying to get them to use the teen volunteers that we had to start the advisory board, because it's a good way to find out programming, what they're reading, what they want to know. Yeah. And it's a great way to get the teens involved with the collection building too. So, but I think they're just sort of waiting for school to start. And then I know a lot of the teens they come and they're here for a couple of days and then they're gone for a few weeks. And most of them, I think only Gracie is the only consistent one that's been coming most of the summer. But a lot of them just they're here for a few days and then they disappear. We never did get a good bunch of them that we wanted to do help with summer reading. It was one of our hopes. But next year, I think if we start, marketing it sooner, we can get more teens involved to help with summer reading for the little kids programs.
Should we do something to thank the one who came? Maybe have a little.
Well, we're having stuff for us though. Yeah, a lot of them helped us move the books up and down the stairs to get the biographies upstairs. I had one last week started helping me move the photos into the archival boxes. So we had a couple teams helping with that. And then, it's been really good. I think Teresa's been really excited. All of the staff have been really excited about the help that they've been providing.
So you have a list of all their names? Okay.
Franklin, is the teen advisory panel year round?
Generally I used to run mine during the school year, because in the summer, that was when they all scatter. And so during the school year, it was easier to run it because it was running an after school program. So they would just come in once a month or a quarter, and then we would decide what all the programs were going to be. They give movie ideas, books, reading book clubs, book suggestions, and then different types of programming that we would do. Because at some point, I'm hoping during the school year, we'll start doing the children's crafts again, start doing teen crafts and programming again, because that could be done in the community room, or even if we need to do it outside while the weather's good, we can still do stuff outside. So I'm trying to encourage the staff that we can go use the parks. We don't need to be trapped in the building.
Good.
When the school year reconvenes, how many total teens are on the advisory panel, or how many do you
Well,
expect?
it's just as many as we can get. So,
I
and
see.
my thing is I always try to get middle schoolers too, but I've had issues with high school kids and middle school kids not treating each other nicely. So we're just gonna see what we can do. And I'm encouraging Jess to really start reaching out and for them to start working with the team. So, and at some point too, we're hopefully get back up to the TAM as well, because I know the TAM really wants their book club back, and Teresa loved doing the TED Talks up there. So.
And those teens, those high schoolers, they are from just public high schools. Any high
They will be from any high school that any teen that wants to come in and work. So it's you know, the private ones and the public ones. So and that's and for me, it's always better when they come from both, because they have different perspectives and they have different points of view. So it's always good to get them to mix, because also too, they never see each other unless there's some sporting event. So.
And you have reached out to the counseling departments of all these high schools?
Not yet. That's what I'm gonna get Teresa and them to do. So
to let them know. So that's good.
Okay, let's go to 6.2, which is the digital services strategy update.
it's just a
Franklin.
placeholder, just so we could, if we needed to discuss something, but we still need to update it and to see what we need to add. So, but it's just a placeholder for now, Jonathan.
Okay, great. Well, then that brings us to 7 new business items.
So the
Board.
first one is board training, which we generally do in July. So it's just a recap of everything you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
And which are you actually seeing the presentation, or do you see the funny Zoom screen like the?
We see both. We can see the
Both.
presentation. Yep.
I want to fix that. So we just need it to be in the regular display. Well, anyway, most of this is it's familiar. It's just going over the board's charge. This is what's in the municipal code about your duties and your responsibilities. You guys all got your packets from Allison, right? Okay, I realize that they have to update it every year, because people change and the mayor's change. So the terms of office is 4 years, and you can ask for reappointment. So and then every January we do the board election, so you get to pick your new chair and vice chair. And then we do follow the Rosenberg Rules of Order, which is just an offshoot of the Roberts Rules of Order. And if you need that, I can always send them out to you again. And just remember that these are Brown Act meetings, so they're open meetings for debate. So far, we don't need to have we haven't had a closed session. That the boards and the commissions don't have these because they're not dealing with staff. And generally, that would be the only time we would have a closed session. So just remember, all meetings, all meetings, our legislative bodies must be fully open and accessible to the public, and that's with our Zoom. We do that. The board must discuss, deliberate, and act on public business only. So we shouldn't respond to public comment sometimes. So that's the big one. So that's gotten city councils in trouble before. Other cities, not ours, thankfully. So. And then materials are reviewed by the legislative body. They must be accessible to the public. And all of our agendas, hopefully, and our board packets are online usually. They should be able to find them. We did misplace one of the board meetings. I just found the recording. We couldn't figure out where it got stored, but it should be available now too. And then what is the meeting? It's meeting when you're the majority of the board. So the majority for us is 3 to make quorum, and then but all 5 of you make the full board. So and then telephone, email, in person. This is why if you do email each other, you make sure you blind CC if you're emailing everybody. That way you can't respond. And this is why how I send out all of the board notifications. This way it avoids a Brown Act violation if you all start responding to the email. And then serial meetings is so if the chair or me go from one of you to each of you with the same topic, that is a serial meeting. And I've only come across this once in my career where I had to stop somebody from doing it because they didn't realize that they were doing a serial meeting. But they, if we get caught, that there is a fine and you get in trouble for it. So and we don't want to pay fines, okay? What is not a legal meeting? So if you're, if we're going to, you know, a party or something, and if you're just conferring one-on-one, so as long as you're not going to everybody on the board, you're good. It's, yeah, you have to be the collective to make that thing. And the closed session, like I said, we don't generally have closed sessions for the board. So, but conferences, workshop, community forums, those are all allowable. So as long as we're not talking business at these parties, we're good. And that's really including parties too, because I know sometimes people worry about this, but you can go to a party altogether as long as we're not doing business there. So, and then these are some resources for the Brown Act. And then for MarinNet, so we'll go over MarinNet really quick again. The founding members were 1991, were the Marin County, Mill Valley, San Rafael, and Sausalito. And then Belted came on in 1997. 98, San Anselmo, 2001, Larkspur joined the crew, and we have the best escape clause. We only have a 30-day notice to give if we have to leave. And then the universities come on. Right now, there is an issue where we might lose the College of Marin. So we're waiting to hear back from them. They may join a college consortium. So, and if they do that, they will withdraw from the MarinNet. But I discovered too that the two universities are not voting members of the MarinNet board. They're just ex officio. So they can only advise, and then they don't get a vote in what we do. This year, I gave you a full look of what the cost formula is for the fiscal year 22-23. Our sharing went down a little bit, but our costs went up. So our cost for the MarinNet now is $91,000. And it continues to grow. And this is an issue that both Larkspur and San Anselmo have, where it keeps getting bigger. San Anselmo, as you see, is much larger than ours, but it's almost to the 10% point of our budget. So as you know, we didn't have a growth budget this year. We had to take money from other pots to make sure to cover our MarinNet fees. But that does cover, as you see, Link Plus and Scenic, which are two really great benefits that we have for high-speed internet for Scenic and for Link Plus. There are more libraries coming on board Link Plus, so it's going to give us way more access to all the libraries in the state and more material. So I know San Diego County and the libraries of San Diego and the Sierra Cooperative just come online as well. So after I paid buku bucks in Coronado for that. And then our shared resource, I forgot to update this one, but it's our integrated library system, our ebooks and e-audiobooks, e-magazines, and our databases, and then delivery. That's the biggest one for us is delivery, since we have a lot of material that's returned to other locations, as well as a lot of, we do receive a lot of books from our neighboring libraries as well. So, but they give us the support, and then we coordinate delivery in our working groups. The overdrive collection, they help manage that as well. The big one that we're working on this year is a combo of bringing on PLP, which is all the libraries south of us, and the rest of NorthNet on together to share one giant ebook collection. So that will give our patrons more access to ebooks across the state. So it's a state program that we're starting to implement. So I know the NorthNet board needs to approve it, and I think we've approved it for MarinNet and PLP. So we're just waiting for NorthNet to have a final vote on that. But there's 41 of us in that consortium, and I think the last couple of times we haven't had full quorum because people weren't in their offices. So they're really picky about librarians being in their office to have quorum. So okay, and then again, we're part of the NorthNet, and then the remnants of the North Bay Cooperative Library System. And really that's just PERS. I've discovered it's a PERS liability that we have to pay for, that we're paying from that old consortium. This is one of the first ones we were in back in the 80s. So, and then fiscal year, staff and budget. So June to July to June. So this is why we do the training in July. So these are the changes to the staff. So as you saw in 2021, we still have a frozen librarian position. We did have a circulation supervisor, but that one has been turned into our access services librarian. And we have one full-time librarian, and then Teresa is our librarian too. We have a community service assistant that replaced the old library assistant. But this is Gianni, who works between both departments. And then we're hoping to get one more community service assistant who will be based here at the library that will go back and forth. And that's hopefully in the mid-year budget, we'll get that. So our operating hours have expanded. So we're now open 5 days a week, 35 hours per week, and then the locker is taking over our curbside. So if anybody who's still worried about coming inside, and I know there are a couple of residents who are, we're encouraging them to use the locker. And then our library partners, you know, the Friends of the Library, which Barbara's here, and they always have committed $12,000 per year. The Larkspur Library Foundation usually pledges $10,000 per year. And then the Common Foundation, which is really doing really good, they're only $596,000 away from their $5 million goal. So this is from their website, and I was calculating it this last week. So it's really good. They're doing a great job. And then I'm sure Joy will talk more about this in a little bit. But that's an update. You guys have any questions or?
One question, Franklin, you mentioned Marinette, but then also POP or PLP?
PLP is the Pacific Library Partnership, and that includes all the counties south of us. So that's San Francisco, Santa Clara, San Jose, Contra Costa, Alameda. All those libraries are part of the PLP consortium. And I know people at the Marinette board meeting, we had a gentleman asking us, why don't we have a big collection like they do in San Francisco? And it's like, well, San Francisco's budget is gigantic compared to ours, and their consortium is much bigger than ours. So I still don't know why we're not part of it, but I don't know what was going on in the 80s when they decided to do this, but I think it would have been better if we were everybody around the Bay was together. But the North Bay, we're in the NorthNet consortium, and the South is all in the PLP consortium. So
Thank you for that.
I have a question about Marinette too. You mentioned that COM might leave, so their current financial contribution would have to be picked up by the rest of the participants.
Yes. So if they pull out of the consortium, our Marinette fees will go up. They've been talking about redoing the formula for the cost sharing, but that would also impact our budget, and they do know that this is the biggest thing for San Anselmo and us in Sausalito. It is a huge impact on our budget, and right now we don't have a growing budget at all. So like I said, we had to just take money from other pots within our budget to make sure that we cover the cost, because right now we wouldn't be able to survive by ourselves at the moment, because we would need to get our own ILF as well as hire somebody to operate it and all that other stuff. So right now we're in a good spot, but I keep warning them too that they have to be very cautious. And I'm the one that I think one of the directors is always trying to find cost savings, because it has to be sustainable. And that's what I keep reminding them. We need to make sure that the collection, the ebook collection is sustainable, and then everything that we do are sustainable, because otherwise you're going to lose the little libraries. We're not going to be able to stay in Marinette if the costs keep going up and up and up. So
is there any other library in Marin or who would be able to join Marinette who is not currently a member?
all the libraries within Marin are part of Marinette. So,
okay, so there's no one we can drag in to share the cost of
you know, all the public libraries are part of the, unless there's a hidden one that I don't know about, but all the public libraries are now part of the Marinette. So,
but there may be the San Francisco Theological Seminary, although they're part of Redwoods or the Redlands University now. But they don't have much of a library. I don't think they're in San Anselmo.
Yeah, that ones I didn't know about, Jeff. That's good to know.
And you mentioned the library will be open 5 days a week. And what will the hours be?
Our hours are 9 to 6, Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay, so that will be.
We have new bookmarks, so when you come in and get a bookmark. Yeah, we just made it easier since we're not, we don't have any late nights, and we don't, we're not open on Monday still. It was just easier to make 9 to 6, and that way it gives people on Friday a chance to come in, because remember we used to close a little early on Friday and Saturday. So having it open until 6 gives a lot of people more of a chance to get here. Saturday is still the best day for people who work in the city, because they can't get back here in time before we close. Otherwise, they'd have to use the locker when they want to. So.
Franklin, on the slide about staff, which listed positions for fiscal 22 to 23, there were one position was frozen for librarian 1, and of the other 5, 1 is slated for mid-year. Of the rest, is it just one opening that you're looking for right
No,
now?
no,
We can
these
get to
are,
earlier?
this is actually just the budget breakdown of, these are actually filled positions. The only one that's not filled is the frozen one and the one at mid-year, if we get that one in mid-year. The frozen one, I still don't know when they would unfreeze it. So whenever they do increase our budget again, that might be one of the staff members that's unfrozen. So, because
Okay.
originally we would have just had a circ supervisor and then the 2 librarians, so Jessica and Teresa. But I was able to reshuffle the staff and then upgrade the circulation manager to a librarian position. Like it was in one of my old libraries. That was what we did with one of the circulation managers. They became a librarian. So it gives us more librarians on the desk and on the floor. So
Cool. All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Do you want to now take us through the community services development strategic plan?
Yes, so
workshop?
thank you for the ones who responded with the emails with I didn't get everybody, so I don't know if everybody did send one. I know, Amir, you were working on one because you talked about it at the parade, but I never saw the email. So so there's still plenty of time to put it in. The big thing is I realized that how much work this is. This is a lot of work for one person. And it's like, this is why everybody pays for this to be done by someone else. So but the good part is we got some starting points. The next one really is I'm going to work with the staff on Wednesday. We're going to have a meeting and we're going to go over our SWOT analysis. But the big thing we want to start doing right now is start working on the needs assessment survey. So we're trying to figure out what questions we'd want to ask the public so we can figure out what they want, what they need, what they're not finding here. And so those are the questions I thought maybe you guys could help ask as well. It's like, what questions would you want to see on a survey? What kind of data would you like to see?
Do you want us to give you some feedback right now on that?
Yeah, I mean, because this is, I mean, really, that's why it's a workshop today. So this will allow us to do some, even though that we're running out of time. So Amir, if Jonathan
How
needs
would that survey be distributed? Would it be when people come in? Would it be emailed to all residents of Larkspur and Greenbrae? Because it's a question of knowing, do we ask everyone or do we ask the patrons who already know the library and are using it? Because that's
I would like to send some sort of mailer out like we did with the community survey that the city just did. So I would like to make sure that it got mailed out to everybody because we still don't know who's not coming in and why they're not coming in. And getting some feedback from them would really be useful to see why they're not using the library. So that's why I was really hoping that we could find some way to make sure that we get it to everybody, not just the people walking in the door. Because a lot of the people who walk in the door technically aren't Larkspur residents. They're the Kentville residents, they're the Ross residents, they're Corte Madera, or they're just passing through because we had a book on the shelf and so they wanted to come here to get it. So I really want to know what the residents think. And this will be good too because I keep asking recreation, have they done surveys of like after summer school? Have they sent out a survey to find out why people didn't sign up or why they liked it, that kind of stuff. They haven't done that either. So I really would like to make sure that we're reaching every resident, apartment, mobile home, house. So
that's very ambitious.
I know it's very ambitious, but there's way to bulk mail.
Yeah, I was just wondering what was the response that Larkspur received on the survey, the community surveys they received, and we can get from that experience some pointers.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I need to ask Shannon because she was overseeing the that community survey, and I know we got good feedback, but I still haven't seen the feedback because I wasn't sure where we got stuck with it because they were supposed to release it, but I don't know if I missed it when I was on vacation or what. So I'm just trying to find out what the feedback was because I know that we had positive feedback about the library, which was really good. So we're one of the #1 departments. So.
Do other board members have any input for Franklin on questions that they could ask? I have some, I'll save mine for last.
I mean, I think he's spot on. If we can get it to everyone, right, to try to find out why certain subsets aren't going, and then obviously the one thing is just a question on like what additional services that you don't see in the library, could we implement? That's kind of an obvious one.
Franklin, would you mind repeating what would be most helpful? So you're in the process, you've gotten some of these input. Now you're like trying to combine and come back with like a synthesized thing that lets us move forward. What would be the most helpful feedback for you right now?
Well, we still need to finish your guys' SWOT analysis. So if you haven't sent the emails in, please send me those emails with your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we can add those to the pile, because I eventually will do this with both the Friends of the Library as well as the Commons and the Library Foundation, because I'd like to get their feedback as well to be inputted, because at some point too, we need to do some little community focus groups to find out other things going on too, but we need to find the people first, but I'd like to start in-house, and you're the first ones, and the staff will be this Wednesday. And then eventually I'll schedule this with Barbara and with Joe and Larry, so we can make sure that all the boards have input too.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Like, I think from my point of view, I think, obviously us asynchronously, I know that's what we had said, and I kind of every time I started, there was like a genuine reservation about like saying something without the amount of context. I mean, you're living this thing day in, day out, right? You're like, we opened this up with Andy and I sharing how we like walked into the library with our kids and like had this like impression of like our few minutes of interaction right in the library. You're there seeing the patrons, like seeing all the activity and the inflow, and like is it who's coming in the most? Are the kids getting what they want? Are there teenagers coming in, right? Like there's all these things, the anecdotes, the observations, the richness of like being in it day in, day out. It's sort of like, it just felt like disingenuous for me to do that in sort of lacking the amount of depth of both contextual, like anecdotal, qualitative, quantitative level of things that you see on a day in, day out basis. And so I honestly would love, like, I actually would really prefer to come in and react and be like a voice to your observation and your input on where you think, given all of these like given the context that you have from both the qualitative and the quantitative side, what do you see right as shaping? And by the way, like I'm like for my own company, at least we shy away from consultants, so we don't do any SWOT analysis. Like generally it's like simplified, like it's like the strategy for me is being able to distill things down to, I think Armel really hit the nail on the head of like a great strategy is not like what we're going to do, but also all the things we're not going to do. Right. It's all about like focus and for sure we can come up like, okay, these are our strengths, right? These are the things that we have going for us. And we can certainly find different frameworks to like shape that up. But I think like that conversation was so enriching, and just seeing like little examples of places where we could really differentiate and create a really cool, it's like I was saying, there are all these things that are really neat about Larkspur. People like love the charm, the location, all this like characteristics that we could kind of turn into an advantage and say, okay, we can really lean in and serve these demographics particularly, or solve for these specific things. Yeah, that's why you don't have something from me, because every time I've kind of gone into it, I've sort of like.
Well, Amir, I would just don't think if you're going to insult me or something, because if you need to know something, if that's something you don't see when you come in, if you've been to other libraries, you know what they have, and you know what we don't have. But my thing is because even in a national association, we did needs assessments, we talk about stuff, and people go, oh, you need this, and it's like, but we have it, they just don't know it. And so not having that question I don't know what you don't know. And so I think it's just, this is an opportunity just to blurt it out. We don't need, because as I could show you, as you saw on the board document, I didn't put anybody's name with any of the stuff. It's just there, and it's good to see, because a lot of times it's a marketing thing. We didn't market it. We didn't make sure that it was obvious to somebody. I mean, this is the same issue we have with the website sometimes. It's like stuff is buried in it, even though it's not popping up. And they think we don't have it, but we do. And so this is, I think it's you, I know your family uses the library a lot.
Yeah.
So talk to your wife and say,
Yeah.
what do you see that's
I guess,
missing? What do you?
I mean, look, I'll tell you where my head kept going, and this is, I'd love to get everyone's reaction. You know, I think for me, it's never been about comparison to another library, you know, in that, like, the real thing that I strongly feel, and what honestly gotten me, the catalyst for me wanting to join you guys in this endeavor, I think was the pandemic really shifted the whole community dynamic, right? Like, we were all, you know, I'm sure Andy was on the road all the time traveling, you know, I was away a bunch, and that commute kind of going away in some ways, and travel reducing quite a bit meant, you know, like, community became the replacement, right? And like, we just got closer, right, to neighbors, to time spent, you know, with other activities, etc. And I think it's like, there's not that many central venues in the city, you know, like, libraries, like one of those like key attraction points. And so I'm like, look, how does this, I mean, and it's interesting that even since then your scope has expanded, and now, like, you know, we've kind of graduated to also include, you know, you've got 2 logos behind you now, not just one, right?
So Amir, hang on a second, because Jonathan has to leave. So that means since you're the vice chair, you'll take over the meeting. So
I do. Actually, thank you for that. I wanted to make sure I passed it off. Before I go, I would like to just share the few thoughts I had just on this topic, but then I'll turn it back to you, Amir, and say goodnight to everybody. On the survey, Franklin, I will also send in my thoughts, and I actually echo some of Amir's humility and the deference to, like, the in-depth exposure you have. But that notwithstanding, I'll send some ideas that strike me from my vantage point. And for the survey, what strikes me is 3 different opportunities with it. One is to understand how people use the library today, which is really to inform marketing and positioning and promotion of what do you use the most, which is slightly different from what do you value the most. And lots of ways to ask that. Then the second one, obviously, Andy mentioned it, of what's missing, or what would you want that we don't have? Or when have you thought, oh, I wish the library had this? Like, what was the specific thing, the context, the situation, and the cause? But then the third thing, which it might be non-obvious, or it may or may not be appropriate, is the survey itself could serve a marketing function, and we could ask people to just rank or stack rank or rate 10 things that the library offers. And that's kind of a guerrilla technique of making them aware of all these things that they might not know. So, any survey that you can get to the whole community, I think is incredibly valuable. So I look forward to that. But with that, I thank you all. Amir, I pass the mantle to you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Night,
Hey, Jonathan.
Night.
Thank you.
because this in a way is a little focus group too. It's finding out what you guys don't know and know. And then for most of you, I mean, I've been trying to make sure that you guys are well informed about the services we have, what we have, and what we're doing, just to make sure that you, like I've said before, if someone came up to you in the community and asked you, what are they doing in the library? I want you to be able to say, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. I mean, this is because you're also our spokesperson. You're my voice to the community as well, because you also have access to, local government. You can talk to our council members, that kind of stuff. So this is what makes it really important. But trying to figure out too, what people don't know we have is also a great way, because I mean, and also I'm always stunned when people say, oh, you need this, and it's like, but we have it, we've had it for years and it's right there. But people they don't see it, or it gets lost in the messaging, because also too, you can be overwhelmed with email that you don't see all the stuff that's going on. And that's why I really love the outreach stuff, because when we're there to somebody who's like, oh, we don't need a library because I have ebooks and I have this and that, and then you remind them, well, we have them, we do it for free. And then they're like, wow, it's really just opens our eye again. And so it's doing that kind of stuff. But these are the things that we need to know, because we know that that's also a threat. The e-books is a threat. And but it's also something that we have, because there's different threats in 2 different ways. So people think they don't need a library because they can get it digitally. But then the cost is the other threat to us as well, because maintaining that collection is going to be tough for us. So.
If I may.
Mhm.
So Amir, I appreciate your position, because before sending mine in, I really thought, who am I to just say strengths, visions, threats? But as I thought more about it, I thought of all of you who have a very different experience at the library than I have. And I do think that all of us coming and seeing different strengths, the strengths I see may not be the same as yours.
Mhm.
And then we can talk about it. The deficiencies that you see may not be some that I've ever would have imagined. And then we can strategize about how and why and who. So I think that your whatever you come up with is not going to cover everything, but it's going to bring another facet to something that we need to consider, and that your perspective is extremely important. And the other thing about the survey, I do think, like Jonathan, that using it as a way to gauge what people know and asking them to rate a bunch of programs is a great way to make them say, wow, I didn't know that program existed.
I agree.
And it may be a guerrilla tactic, but that's
Marketing.
that is probably the most valuable information we will get
Mhm.
on many for many reasons. So I
Yeah,
would make it number 1 on the test, on the survey.
yeah, I like that tactic that he brought up too. That's a great idea.
Mhm.
I think of, how they would rate or talk about, or how we market, resources, collections, activities, etc. And that's, that's sort of standard fare. But I'm intrigued by something, as somebody who's been in libraries forever, from what Amir said about that sort of sense of place, or, those third spaces outside of, work and home that the library should be, and that it has become, even virtually, that should remain to one degree or another, now that we've learned how to cope with that. But that sense of place in the community, I mean, in Larkspur, I mean, people, where is it? Town center, you go to the village in Corte Madera, or, you walk downtown, where is that replacement or that extension of that, walk through that, lovely community of ours, and that real public place that offers to everybody, which is the library, and those kinds of things that, the library does and traditionally has done and will do in the future. But that is something that we should not only focus on, but we could really use as we figure out how to, move to a new facility, move to this new
Well,
spot.
and I know Joe's probably jumping up and down, because this is what they're doing. This is what they've done to find what we need, and what other people who are new to our area expected their libraries that he may have been at before. And that's the big thing. And this is why I was saying that we want to make sure that everybody who lives in Larkspur uses the Larkspur Library first before they venture out into the greater surrounding area. So,
and you think of that new spot, and I go back to the astronomy thing. Well, there'd be some sort of patio or deck or something there, where at nighttime people could gather and roam by, and there's a lunar eclipse this evening. Well, why wouldn't you go wander down there, and there'd be books out and videos and telescopes, for God's sakes, and your friends and people and people you don't know that you get to learn that you meet. So.
Yeah, I agree, Franklin. I'll get you something. And I'm as I kind of think about it, it's like a lot of those weaknesses are things that you can't control, and it's partly because of the space, right? Because you don't have some of the stuff that you mentioned, Jeff, or the space where people can sit outside and maybe pick up a coffee and come and talk. And so yeah, and then obviously good tee up for Joe, but yeah, I agree. It's good stuff, Joe.
So that I know Barbara still has her hand raised. Do you guys have more questions or
No,
so,
good.
I'm gonna allow you to talk, Barbara. Do you have a question or about the strategic planning? Or?
I do. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I was just thinking that you guys are thinking really grand. I love this idea, but if we could, not settle on sending out something, but really focus on something email that went after every transaction that happened at the library. So you reached, so you had a chance to say, my experience with this aspect was good, bad, medium, it just a chit. So, when you're at a hotel or, at not a restaurant, but you always get that survey right afterwards. So I think that rather than doing a mass mailing, I would approach it incrementally.
So what we're doing, Barbara, is I think you missed a few meetings because you're on vacation. So what we're doing is we're working on a strategic plan. And my goal is to hopefully make a strategic plan for the community services department. So this would include both the library and recreation. So it's going to be a community survey about both those things under the umbrella. But your idea is a great one too, because that would be a really fun way to get like instant feedback.
Yeah.
From patrons who are using the library, or using the
Yeah.
locker,
I just got a lot of feedback from the townwide survey, Franklin, that it was very onerous. And only a few people respond to that. So that was my cautionary tale.
Well, yeah, and they're also doing the one right now on living in Larkspur. So there's that one going around right now as well. But I hopefully this is gonna take us a little while because I got to get all the pieces together, and we still have to have the board and the commission together as well, because we're two divisions in the department. So there will be a point where everybody comes together to talk. But if the friends are online to do it as well, I have you in mind in the Commons and Library Foundation, because I need your guys' input as well. So
okay, thank you for letting me have the input. It's great. Definitely a very valuable direction. Thanks.
Thanks, Barbara. Okay, and then I don't know if Joe has any comments. Did Joe wanted to make a comment or not, or you want to raise your hand if you do? Nope. Okay. So for right now, then before we send out the survey anyway, we'll come back so you guys can review it as well. But if you have questions you think we should ask, just send them to me. And again, I need to get the commission up to speed, so I'll probably talk to them next week about what we're doing. But they have 2 public hearings next week, as well as more stuff from recreation or from the parks. So there's a lot of stuff on their plate. So, but get them on board and up to speed. But this has been really helpful because I've also discovered that the city doesn't have, as far as I could find, a mission statement or a vision statement. So those are things I'm going to talk to my boss tomorrow about. So because I want to make sure that we're covering the city, that we're doing something that could be used for the entire city as well. So, okay.
Franklin, is that a mission for the library and recreation, or is that something that?
Well, for me, because we're one department, we're trying to make sure that the community services department is viable and they were working together and not against each other. Because as you know, that there's always been this, recreation versus library. This has always been a thing, and it's really funny because every once in a while, it's usually during budget season is when it rears its head. Depending on how well a city's doing, that's when you know whose department is more favored than the other, or who's giving good feedback to city council. I haven't seen that here, thank goodness, but I used to see that a lot at my last 2 cities that I worked at before. In one year, the Oceanside had a really bad year. In recreation, it was on the table to cut the entire department. The library couldn't be cut because we were part of the city charter. But I kept reminding staff, they didn't say how big the library had to be. So they just needed a library. So you never know. So But the goal for the strategic plan too is to make sure that we can outline where we're going. Like I said, not with, we know the building's a big issue, but where we're going, regardless of the building, we want to make sure that we're providing services. And also getting this will help us turn around and justify why we need staff, why we need these things as well. So, and
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
the long goal.
I love your, I mean, if there's a path to bringing clarity into what the purpose, which is really the mission statement of the community services, and then that purpose could certainly guide the strategic planning in a much more coherent fashion, right?
Mhm.
Being very
Because there's also stuff that's due that we haven't really even touched on yet, the equity, diversity, and inclusion elements that are the county's working on as well. I'm working on a national level. It's just really just something that we need to incorporate because it's not incorporated currently in our mission statement. And I know right now, MarineNet, we're all working towards making sure that we have, again, a collection that is diverse and inclusive and accessible. So that was this one tool that we'll be getting in the next few months that will help us look at our entire collection to see how diverse it really is. So, and I'm big diverse, I mean, but authors, like who are the authors? Who are the authors of the books? And I think, Jeff, you probably know this too, that's the library world right now. We've been talking about EDI for several years now, so.
So I can't find the chat on this, but
oh yeah, this is the, remember this is the council one, so they don't have chat, and I still need to talk to Allison to see if there's a way we can turn it back on and off. So the next
I'm
item,
gonna do a type answer.
do
And
you see the Q&A box?
yeah.
You
So-
should be able to do it in the Q&A, I think.
Oh
if it
wait,
allows you to write a question.
I think it just went to Barbara, maybe. Oh no, in the answers, there you go. If you go to answers, answered, I just put a link to the LCMSD mission statement and their strategic priorities. I think the body of work that was done to get to this product was really well done, like really thorough and thoughtful, very inclusive of the community, and kind of like shaped, I think, with a lot of integrity. And anyway, I just think like that kind of process, like even if we do like 30%, right, I think we'd get to a pretty amazing place.
Okay, is there anything else in this, or we'll just move on to the agenda from here?
Oh, all right, so let's see, we're headed toward.
So now it would be the reports from our support groups. So who wants to go first, Joe or Barbara? Who would you like to go first, the Friends or the Commons Foundation?
Commons Foundation.
Okay, let's get Joe up here. We're going to promote you, Joe, to the panel. Hi, Joe.
Hi, everyone. I would have taken Barbara, frankly. So it's good to see you all.
Don't make me look bad, Joe. This is just, saving best for last kind of a thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. That's what I would call it. Yes, Barbara's definitely best. So we're at 4.5 million in cash and pledges. We've seen several significant major donors come in the last 30 days. I think part of that is the orchestration of community visibility, starting at the Touch Truck event in May, where we saw a whole lot of people who are not actually in Larkspur, Corte Madera, Green Bay, Kentfield, but also we saw a lot of families that we had never heard from before. So that was great. And then the 4th of July parade, that was hugely valuable to us, because when we had 50 some odd people involved, people handing out the cards along the way saying, here's the news on the new library. What they were also asking is, do you have any questions? And the number one question is, well, when are you going to build it? So it's interesting. We've also done a lot of work in the major donor pipeline. And I don't have anything to announce tonight, but I'm growing increasingly confident we will go through the $5 million number this year. between the community campaign that we are stepping up right now. We did these major public events, and then there'll be the fundraising push in the community campaign in September through November. And the major donor work has been going on steadily the whole time. So that's sort of the macro. We're talking to the city. One of the things we've been doing more social media, and we've been researching people who we've never heard from before. What information do you need to understand what we're doing? And the interesting thing was, well, when we look at the city library website or the city council website, we don't see any mention of you. We don't see that you're raising the money for the library, or we, God help you, we don't see, the city saying, please support the Commons Foundation. So we're in the process with the city of putting information on the library website, because interestingly, when we asked, would you rather see it on the city side or the library side, people thought, I guess, well, it's the library, right? So the primary communications vehicle, I know this shocks you, about the library is the library. So we're trying to integrate social media, website, and outbound communications so that what Franklin has up at the library website and his social media, we mirror, if that makes sense. So what you can expect, we met with Barbara this morning, and I don't know if you knew this, but Friends of the Library and the Commons Foundation always manage our communications so we're not on top of each other. We create space. So we have a roadmap through December for both groups. And we will be doing, and Barbara will tell you more about it, the Season of Giving, which we've done for the last couple of years together. And then on our side, there will be more targeted email and direct mail going out starting next week through the end of the year. And in addition, we will probably be launching a community match for donors of $500 or $1,000 and above for the community campaign, like we did in January. We're going to bring that back. The thing we don't know, and Franklin commented, the timing of when the state will act and then the city have to act will have a huge impact on what we're doing. So there's some powder being kept dry for when that happens, because we then have to sort of saturate the market quickly with communications and get the final amounts of money in so that the city council can, with confidence, put out an RFP and move forward with a funding strategy intact between the city's money, the state's money, and our money. So
if you guys can excuse me for a moment, I need to run real quick and I'll be right back. So
I do this to him every time. So anyway, so that's where we are.
That's great, Joe. It's quite encouraging. Great progress, and I love to hear. I think we talked about touch trucks and the 4th of July parade. We're just for sure such an awesome opportunity to put the library front and center in a way that at least I haven't felt in some time, and so that was really neat. And I do think a lot of people that we've never seen kind of showed up. Well, obviously 4th of July was a separate thing, but touch trucks especially, like people came in and really connected, which was cool.
Yeah, Amir, if someone takes a flyer from you at a 4th of July parade, to me that's kind of interesting. If you're there with kids or you're just there was interest.
Yeah.
So that I don't know if you all know this, but Armel 3 years ago helped me do the first stage of this. And it was interesting to me where we are now relative to when Armel was managing our public outreach in these small, I can't remember what we called them, Armel, coffees or whatever. Oh, you're muted. There you are.
all get together. They were very private, very targeted, and I agree. For everything you said, it's just opening it up to everybody, anybody who just happens to be there, and we don't even know where they're coming from, and they may not live here, but they have an interest in Larkspur and the library. What I truly, truly hope that you come through with is, on top of all the money and all the efforts, and thank you for spending all that time looking for money under every rock there is getting the website and the Commons Foundation and information on what's going on the city website, wherever it needs to be. The number of people who just still don't realize that it's happening because and don't know where to get the information because the city website is not clear. So if you can
Yeah.
get that done,
I thought it was going to go live last week because I saw the banner that will go up onto the Art banners, but it didn't happen. So I'm going to find out tomorrow what happened because
And I sent back feedback because I just saw the copy today and sent back, because the key is to answer. You have to, I know you all know too much, but the broadest segment of people that Armel is talking about are people who moved into the area in the last 5 or so years. They have families, they've been busy, they're not paying attention to public debate or anything. They don't go to city council meetings, but they use the library and they care a lot about the community for their families and for the next, what they're trying to have help raising a family. So we need to tell them the library is moving. The Commons Foundation is the fundraising partner for raising the money for the new building. And the city and the city libraries urging you to support the Commons Foundation so we can build a new building. You need all three messages, because otherwise people go, why are you involved? So, and I don't know if this is a huge amount of money, and I don't think it is, but I think it's important to the public support that Armel's talking about in the community of the library and the city government, so that people understand and are supportive of this. It's a huge distance from where we were, I don't know, 3 years ago, Armel, like these very small meetings and 6 people, and and this is now, you do touch a truck, 1,000 people showed up. You do the parade, you've made, I don't know, a couple thousand impressions, Franklin. I mean, we're doing waves of email and print of 4,000. So in a population of 15,000+, that's a lot of folks.
the big difference between 3 years ago, sorry, Joe, interrupt.
Yeah.
Was that 3 or 4 years ago when we started that, people were saying, why do we need a library? That was one of the saying. It's just, why do we even need it? And now it is not why, it is when. When is it going to be? When can I get there?
You should work on the campaign again. You just summarized. So Armel, that was the best summary I've heard in a long time. And I don't listen to myself. So, that was wonderful. Well done, Armel. You can come back on board anytime. Anyway,
Thank you, Joe.
I must tell you, if you do work with Armel, you will be organized. I tell you, like it or not, you will be organized. So, and likewise with Barbara Friday, who's coming next, we refer to her as Saint Barbara in the Commons Foundation, because she helped incubate us. She's been there at every step of the way. Friends in the library, that every time I turn around, they were the first to step up to help. So I'll sign off now, but you really have no idea what an asset you have in Barbara and the Friends of the Library. It's astonishing.
We do
So,
realize it.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Thank
all right,
you, Joe.
Yeah.
go away, Joe.
Thank you.
I'm gonna promote you, Barbara.
This is why we saved you for last, Barbara.
You should be able to shoot your camera on now, Barbara. So She didn't walk away from the computer. I hope not. There you are. You're still muted, Barbara.
Yeah, my
There you are.
computer's a little slow. I got a new one. I haven't put it in yet. Can you believe that, Joe? You know, he's the most giving, unselfish, one of the smartest men I've ever met, and yet he recognizes everyone around him as though we could be his peers. And I feel like I could never be Joe's peer. I feel like, I just am so grateful to have had him chairing this effort, because without which we would not, we might be here, but we'd be talking about other stuff, that's for sure, and nothing very significant. So I'm so grateful to him. And I think he and I are both passionate about, the community and our community of Larkspur, and making knowledge available to, a greater public, and making sure we can bring as many people into the library and into our library family as possible. So it's with great pleasure that I do this work. And by the way, I have really enjoyed the past 2 months of vacation. It's been very gratifying to have a rest, particularly after such a big, doggone, hairy project. But we are planning to do it again this year, simply because I feel we have momentum that we need to keep working on. My group will meet for the first time again in September, and we'll come back to your next meeting with perhaps more plans and some dates for you, and some significant, information, because I don't really have anything now, other than to say we had a good newsletter in July. We'll have a good newsletter in September, and we'll kind of get our sort of focus on the fall, as we've just started in the last couple of weeks. So that's where we are. Did you guys have any questions for me or direction, though? Because I would definitely love to get input from, from the trustees as to, how the Friends could help. And I do have one remaining question for Franklin, if you don't mind, and for the rest of the trustees. So, but any input or questions from the group?
I'm curious, Barbara, are you thinking about another event like Touch Trucks for this year? Is that the think tank is coming together for another community event?
Yes, I think so, Amir, in May again. I thought the timing was good.
Mhm.
We didn't have any smoke, and people were around, and,
Yeah, we caught everybody before they left town.
yeah, the weather was perfect.
Oh.
It just was like we had a guardian angel. It went very, very well. So I think we do some planning, more planning, try and get more sponsors earlier in their fiscal budgeting process, that sort of thing. So yeah, besides everything else, I think we would do that. And I was going to talk to Franklin about how available the council room was, to see if we do anything else in terms of events. But again, I'll get more specifics to you at the next meeting.
Mhm.
Did that answer your question, Amir?
Yes.
What do you think? That's a good idea? Do you think that's a good idea?
I wanted that to be an annual tradition for the community. I think that was such a memorable thing. And, yeah, I think we don't have, I was just kind of hoping eventually we get big enough where we have, 2 events maybe, but yes, I think for sure that may, yeah, it was amazing. It was very memorable.
Yeah, I hung out with Amir there, and one of the things we were talking about is like the ice cream truck and like the Kona ice truck and like kind of some food options. So, I mean, my kids are not fully into trucks anymore. My son got into it a little bit, but it felt like we were just kind of like walking around saying hi to people, running into people, and like eating some like sweets and chilling out, almost like a street fair too. So
Yeah.
I liked that element to it, right? Kind of gave everyone something.
Yeah. Yeah, it took a lot of effort, you guys. Amir, your volunteers were like super wonderful. I fell in love with every single one of them. It really takes a community, and we actually, one thing we know is that we need a volunteer coordinator next time. to sort of organize the whole volunteer effort, because it does take a lot of people to move to process something like that, to make it go smoothly.
Yeah.
It was great. Nice work.
So-
Yeah. So can I ask Mike? I have a question, Franklin, and I guess I don't understand why we're not encouraging people to come back to the library in prior numbers. And if that's the case, when is that going to change? Because, I think the fact is we want to get the community into the library physically. I mean, I always thought that was,
Well,
that's
yeah,
our goal.
I also keep trying to remind people that if we get 2 cases of COVID, we're shut down. So we were completely shut down again because we don't have enough staff. We don't have enough overlay of staff to buffer us from if there's an outbreak. And that's what I'm still been worried about, because we keep encountering, even when I got COVID again, when I didn't even know where I got it from. Like I was lucky I did not, get the staff. I was not around the staff at all. So no one got sick. Cause yeah, they just 2 of us out closes us down. I mean, cause there's not enough staff yet to really run us completely without us being absent. And there are days where we're very thin, like we're on the verge of having to shut down, because if someone's sick, if the librarians are out or the library aides are out, because there was days like I think last week where there was a union meeting where we didn't open on time because all the staff were at the union meeting. So
Sure.
there was only one person, and I was at the MarinNet board meeting, so I can't fill in when I'm not here. So that's the real reason, because too, the ventilation in this place is not the greatest. The staff now are worried about monkeypox because we've heard that if it's on something, you could get it that way. But I still think that is still, like, we keep hearing different things about it. But I know COVID is still really running rampant and people keep catching it. And every
Well,
time
how about temporary employees, Franklin? I
we
mean,
don't have the budget for temporary employees. So
but isn't that something that I mean, couldn't I fund that, like, $5,000 or $10,000 a year or something like that?
we'd have to, I'm not sure, because I know that Sausalito's friends were doing that for a while for Sausalito, but we need to check with HR what the costs are, what the true cost of that would be. So, because there's a lot of other stuff that we have to pay for, like, unemployment insurance, workman's comp, all the other things that they go along with hiring a staff member. So I mean, right now our budget's still not where I would like it to be, and that's also why the goal of strategic plan is to show Pine Bluff needs staff. Because again, I know that it's going to be a while before we get our budget restored. So
it just feels like there's not many people there.
well, and I'm hoping that once a press release goes out, it gets busier, and that's what we're hoping for, and that's why I'm still waiting on this press release, because I mean, we're trying to figure out a way to attract people coming in. The traffic down the main corridor has not been great the last few weeks. If you haven't got stuck in the 20 minutes of traffic on a block, like I have twice now, coming to work and trying to go somewhere, got stuck like 15 feet away from the driveway, and I can't get in the driveway. But that hopefully will be done in the next week or so, and then people will start coming in, because I think too, once school starts going, we're gonna have more people.
Sure. Yeah, I love that the library is open 5 days a week. I'm so grateful about that, Franklin. So well done. That'll make a huge difference. And are the tables back upstairs?
We only have the one table right now, and the other one's being used for display. So
We can buy a table.
we have the table. We just need to put them back in. So
I want to spend some money.
well, no, we got other stuff, and we need armchairs again. So
Speaking of, library references, I remember back like my first place I lived in Tiburon for a very short amount of time. And the Tiburon Library had the most amazing little study area with like these, comfortable tables and like a few chairs. And it's like almost like going to your like college library, like very well done. But yeah, something like that would be spectacular.
I think we had that when we remodeled, and then some of it slowly disappeared. So the pictures of the remodel look really, really nice. It was very, very very classic club look. But that stuff has slowly gotten taken out, desks got removed, chairs disappeared, lamps broke,
Thank you, everybody. Good to
Thank
see
you,
you
Barbara.
all.
Thank you.
Thank
Good to
you,
see you.
Barbara.
I'm gonna hop off. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Franklin.
Bye,
I'll be
Barbara.
in, I'm gonna be in tomorrow to check the
Okay,
box.
I'll see you tomorrow then.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, Barbara.
Bye.
All right. Let's see. That was item 9, future
Mhm.
agenda items. Any recommendations for topics to discuss at our next meeting?
I would like that survey to really be discussed a little more.
Because I'm hoping to get some really good feedback from the staff on Wednesdays, so we can start putting that together. And I was gonna ask San Anselmo too, how they, because I know they did one when I first got hired, they could put out a little survey. And like to see what they asked as well.
So Franklin, what like will we also have like will there be like Armel was talking about, by the way, Armel, I never responded, but sounds good on me submitting the thing so we can kind of see how it all sort of shapes together. Is a plan then to have that roll up presented at the next meeting as well to see what everyone's come back with?
Well, because it was in part of the board documents today, what I had gotten was in there. So there's a part where it's the board of trustees stuff. So though I'm hoping that eventually you'll see the staff's responses, and then we'll also see the responses from our foundations and support groups too. And at some point too, we'll need to do some, I know, focus groups. So we need to find some people that would want willing to do that for us. But I do like Barbara's idea. Like I think we could make a little card that how do we do that we can just stick in books as people send them home. So
okay, but is it? I'm just trying to visualize. Like, will there be a? I don't know if you guys use a template or if I can just do a Google Doc and just kind of fire it off to you. But is there a plan to then take all of the 4 dimensions and kind of roll it up?
Yeah. Well, if you saw what I did with the board document, right? The let me pull that. I split it up between what people had or did I not send you that one?
Yes, you did. Yes, you have the 4 questions and all the answers are divided.
Yeah, it's page 3 of the
Oh, it was a hyperlink on the agenda that I did.
Yeah, it's just hyperlink, and then that will take you. And so basically, that's why no one's.
I can't. I'm not going to read this, so it doesn't bias my. Wait, okay, I got it. I will do mine without reading these.
Yeah, because after I saw you at the parade, I thought, oh, I'm gonna get this from here, and then you got COVID.
Oh. It's been a summer. It's been a summer. Cool. Any other agenda items?
Nope, not for me.
Okay.
All right, and then I guess maybe the one natural, if we're doing a survey, and then we'll have kind of, if me and Jonathan and I think maybe Andy, I think with the 3 laggards who haven't sent.
Yeah, I'll have mine.
So if we'll send them all, then I guess the one natural thing would be like, what do we do next, right? And especially
once we start to really combine what everybody says, like between everybody, it would be nice. And like I said, I really do need to get the commission up to speed. Otherwise, this might take over a year for us to do. So,
and then it would be great. I guess one potential agenda item is I do feel like the mission statement is like a thing, like a container of itself. And so if there's like a path you could show us or pave in terms of how we would go and pursue that for community services, that'd be great.
Yeah, because I need to figure the community services out. I realize that I'm sure recreation departments in other parts of the country do strategic planning, but that's also a new realm for me as well. So I need to investigate that. So I am a part of the Parks and Rec Society now. So I was going to see if they had some info for me. So
okay, all right. Maybe we can. That's a good healthy agenda. I feel like if we're knocking down some purpose and some strategy.
Because I was hoping to get a timeline too, but when I started realizing how much work I've made for myself, besides all the other work I have.
I do. Maybe Franklin, if you could just as something that keeps us honest, I guess from a timing standpoint, it would be great to have like some overarching like timeline that we're rowing towards. At least we have like a direction on what we're working backward from.
Yeah.
That would
I
be,
ordered a whiteboard that I'll have installed in my office this week because I realized I need to start writing all this down on a big thing where I can keep track of what I'm doing. So.
I love it. That sounds great. Yeah. You can take a picture of that on the agenda. That works too. All right. So I guess if that's it, anyone?
The next meeting is scheduled for September 12th.
Right. And those are all sent.
And
Yep.
it's at the bottom of the current agenda as well. So.
Yep. I see it on the calendar. Perfect.
And
All right.
That will
Great.
be question. That will be a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, we'll be continuing to do all our meetings via Zoom for a while.
Thank you. That will help me.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I
I'll make a
move
motion.
to adjourn.
We have a second.
Second.
There it is. Meeting adjourned. Have a great night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
See you all.